The reboot villains of the upcoming X-Men film series, and Reboot specifically, the first film, have been revealed. And according to reports, we are getting 4 villains in the first film, although one of them is just going to be sort of a background character, while 3 of them take the forefront, and one of them is specifically the main villain we're going to follow. So let's break down everything we are hearing about the upcoming X-Men reboot and how it's all being put together by, you guessed it, Magneto. So per head of Marvel Studios Kevin Feige, we know that he stated openly in multiple interviews there is a 10-year plan for the mutants and the mutant saga going forward. Now, he didn't say the mutant saga, he just said the next saga, but we know that that's what it's going to be. On top of this, we've heard that Magneto is going to be a big deal in this franchise, but don't worry, because some people have stated that they're just going to do what Fox did and make Magneto like the be-all, end-all of the entire franchise, where every single film has got to revolve around Magneto. Now, that doesn't seem to be true at all. Instead, it seems like that there are different plans in motion in terms of what they want to do. And per reports, Magneto is the idea for the 10-year plan, but the 10-year plan revolves around other villains, and Magneto would sort of be in the background, potentially as maybe the villain of X-Men 2, which would, I think, mean that 3 is probably going to do like Apocalypse or something like that, which obviously brings us all the way back to the beginning and the first X-Men film. So let's talk about, to start, how big Magneto is going to be, along with another villain who's going to be the primary villain of X-Men 1, and this being Mr. Sinister. So getting into the X-Men reboot, it seems pretty crystal clear that you need to use Magneto. He's got to be there in some way. And again, per reports, he's going to be the background villain that's kind of setting things in motion. And that's how his story goes. But where things get interesting is that apparently he's going to be the one that's sort of working with Nathaniel Essex, aka Mr. Sinister, to figure out what exactly is going on with the mutants in the MCU post-Secret Wars, and further explaining all the weird experimentation and weird stuff that, again, Mr. Sinister is doing, aka, bad stuff, genetic engineering, and trying to really make himself like the be-all, end-all of all mutants and cause, for lack of a better term, mass extinction. Which, again, Magneto is all up for because, hey, wipe out humanity. They both want that. They just got a different approach and different ideas of how to get there. So if Magneto is in fact going to be like this shadowy figure in the back of the first X-Men film, and he's pulling the strings and getting things off the ground, it makes sense that Sinister is at the forefront, and he's collecting mutants and samples and trying to really do what he does. Now, there are some rumors that are going to position him a little differently than they do in the comics and even X-Men 97, which, in my opinion, is fine. He doesn't have to be an exact adaptation. You can change things. You can play around with ideas, which, again, works for me. But, according to all these reports, we're also going to see Mr. Sinister joined by a couple other characters that are going to be in the film, specifically Mystique and Storm. Now, Mystique would be working with the villains, obviously, while Storm is said to be not a proper member of the team of the X-Men just yet. She might sort of be trying to find her own way, which I think makes a lot of sense, and that's probably the exact way you want to use her if she's not a core member of the team. And maybe she's doing her own thing, and she gets pulled into this, and she's at the sort of forefront of it and ends up joining the team at the end. Whatever the case is, I think Storm is a good pick for the X-Men, regardless of how she's used, as long as she's obviously a hero. And Mystique also makes sense working with Mr. Sinister because Master Manipulator, Shapeshifter. this works. Nathaniel would literally use that to his advantage to trick people, to get samples of mutant DNA, and do nefarious things with it. But beyond that, there's a couple other villains that have been brought up that are apparently going to be appearing in the first film, and they're a pretty big deal. So let's talk about Bolivar Trask and the Juggernaut. Okay, so when it comes to the other villains that are going to be in this, that are going to be prominent, apparently the first one we're getting is Juggernaut. Now, Juggernaut has already obviously appeared in different iterations of the X-Men franchise and Deadpool, but none of those versions were actually the Juggernaut. Like, they were a far cry from who he is in the comics, especially being the brother of Charles Xavier, aka Professor X. And apparently that's what they're aiming to do with the Juggernaut here, is do him the right way, establish his relationship with Charles, but also do the proper story from his point of view with the powers. And if you're not familiar with that, he finds a magical stone. That's all you really need to know. It's a magical stone that gives him those powers. There you go. But the other one, Bolivar Trask, is a very interesting one because obviously this is the man who's in charge of the Sentinel program, and this would honestly make sense. Think about it. You have Nathaniel Essex. He finds Charles Xavier's half-brother and goes, hey, you want to go attack your brother? I know where he's located. Also, kidnap some of those muties over there. I need them for reasons, none that concern you. And then Juggernaut does that, right? But he's joined by Bolivar Trask, who's on a rampaging campaign for the government to arrest mutants, and he's the one that builds Sentinels. So again, everything here works, and this is how Magneto can sort of see that, yeah, I need to stop humanity, and look, I'm right. Haven't I proven I'm right? Look at what they're sending after us. So Magneto could technically use Trask as a pawn in further pushing the separation of humanity and mutants and using it for his own war. So with these villains in mind and a couple X-Men, you start to understand that this film sounds like it's going to be a pretty cool reboot for the X-Men that gets us right into the thick of things that we want with X-Men, which is obviously, the whole idea of mutants being hunted because they're different. Magneto doesn't like it. Experimentation on mutants, and also a government-tasked police force to arrest those different. It's almost like the X-Men have always been woke, but dumb people can't pick up on it. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.